Okay. So thank you all for joining us to the Arts and Parks 2026 info session. My name is Zach Frimmel. I am one of the grants project managers over at the Office of Arts and Culture, and I'm joined by my partner over at Parks, Temesgen, who I'll let introduce himself.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'll be our rep today for Seattle Parks and do my best to answer any questions related to the parks part of the process. So yeah, happy to be here with you all.
Thanks, Temesgen. Okay, I'm just gonna jump right in here. So today's roadmap. We're going to go over the guidelines, kind of the ins and outs. We're going to go over the eligibility criteria for both applicants and proposed projects that you can submit. Um, we'll take a first round of questions, and then kind of get back into helping you all navigate the online Flux system, where you'll be submitting the application online. And then we'll go over some of the online application components, as well as just go over some of the timeline, some key dates to look out for in the near future, and then we can take some final questions as well. Again, if you have questions throughout, the presentation, feel free to share them in the chat. That'll be the easiest way that we can address those. And let's see. Sorry, I need to trying to mute somebody. Um, so yeah, if you have questions throughout, feel free to type them in the chat, and then we'll make sure that Temesgen and I answer them for you all. Okay. So, so for the project guidelines, so just some high level information about the program. The partnership is between the Office of Arts and Culture and the Seattle Parks and Recreation. And it's to really bring in arts and cultural activities into the city of Seattle managed parks. Um, we are looking for applicants who are either organizations, community groups, it could be grassroots collectives, individual artists, those types of applicants, who are seeking to activate Seattle parks through arts and culture based activities. This program supports pop-up activations that center arts and cultural participation, celebrate diversity, build community while also connecting with audiences that represent Seattle's vast diversity of communities throughout the city. Some examples of some projects or kind of pop-ups or arts and cultural festivals, live performance events, film screenings, creative workshops, and those types of activities. To continue on, we have projects for the award size that applicants can request up to either 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, or 8,000. All of these amounts went up in the last cycle a little bit more to account for inflation and just to have a larger amount of award funding to support the pop-up events. Related to the $8,000 award, if you're an awardee within the last two cycles and you were awarded either the $7,800 one or the $8,000 one, then there is a requirement of having at least 12 hours of public programming across at least 2 days. If that applies to you and you want some more information on that, definitely feel free to reach out.
Hey, Zach, really
Yeah.
quick, the PowerPoint is not being shared right now.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Let's see here. Okay. Can you all see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. It was gray on my side. I don't know why. Okay. So we'll go over this one again. The projects that you can request, the amount is 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, and 8,000. Again, here's kind of a little bit more of the um, kind of the requirements for the $8,000 award if you've received that in the last year or in the year before that, the highest amount, which was 7,800. Um, so projects must center arts and cultural based activities. Projects must be free and open to the public and have no barriers to participation. Projects must take place outside an eligible City of Seattle managed park. And then the programming season is between May 1st and October 30th or 31st. Um, and so make sure that you're requesting or proposing activations within the programming window. Eligibility. So for applicant eligibility, must either be like an individual, organization, community group, ad hoc group that regularly presents arts and culture based programming in Seattle. We're looking for one of these groups to reside in King County or unincorporated King County within Washington State. We're looking for applicants representing Seattle's diverse communities, and we encourage them to apply. Applicants do not need to be a 501c3, but awardees must have a federal tax ID for contracting purposes with the city. It's okay to have a fiscal sponsor, but it's not required. And so this one is for being funded through this program. You just can't be funded for the same project from other city grants. So if you've already gotten funding from the city for one project, you can apply to this program to get additional funds to kind of extra support for that, just so that the city is only funding one project one time. And then if this is mostly just for awardees from this year, you won't eligible to receive an award if you still have an open contract for arts and parks contract after December 31st. It's mostly if folks need to carry forward. So park locations in the guidelines, we have a list of the preferred parks as well as ineligible parks. We'll have like we'll have some slides on these. And again, there's a list of all these in the guidelines. The preferred parks are going to be the ones that kind of will give you an extra 2 points in the evaluation criteria, which we'll get to. Ineligible parks is a list that this particular program isn't looking to fund, and I'll let Temesgen talk more about that in a few slides. And then there are a whole other list of parks on the Parks and Rec website that you can find that are eligible. Just because they're not a preferred park doesn't mean that you can't activate them. So I'm going to let Temesgen talk a little bit more about these. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Zach. Yeah, so our preferred parks, these are parks that have been identified as, parks, needing activation, needing support. Additionally, they're located in, like neighborhoods and communities that are also in need of activation and support. And the way we have identified these is through, it's a long story, but try to keep it short. It's basically we have like a mapping we have what we call a GIS map service, and that's like a team of groups on the city, or team of departments, I should say, that work together and identify many different factors, including, economic, health factors, education, income, health disparities, and all these things, to try to identify where are our most communities and neighborhoods that are in need of the most support. And that's how we came to these, that's how we came to these parks as our, preferred parks, needing activation for this preferred grant program. Did want to make a quick note, and this was an error on my part in particular, that Ballard Commons Park showed up on the original guidelines, but it will not be it won't be a preferred park for arts and parks, but it will be you couldn't still activate there, but you wouldn't get, sorry, let me rewind it. It won't be a preferred park going forward, but we will work with you if that's where you want it to activate. We will still work with you to try to identify, another preferred park in the area. But yeah, Ballard Commons has been a preferred park for a long time, but won't be going forward. So if that's somewhere you really, had your heart set on, or had some other significance, if you end up being awarded, we can have a conversation about it. But we'll work with you to try to identify another preferred park, probably in the neighborhood up there. So that's in preferred. I see a question here. So Rainier Beach, can you go back a slide real quick, Zach? I see a question in the chat that says, so Rainier Beach Playfield. Could you go back one slide, Zach? That one. All right, cool. So yeah, Rainier Beach Playfield is not one of our preferred parks. The preferred parks are these. It doesn't mean, but I'll actually get to Rainier Beach in a second. Yeah, but it's not one of our preferred parks. One here. All right. So our ineligible parks, Zach's, started to speak to this earlier. So for this program in particular, we have deemed many parks ineligible for a few different reasons. First of all, there's a large group of downtown parks that wouldn't be eligible because we already have resources dedicated to activating downtown. And again, like, one of the priorities of these funds is to try to, serve and activate some of those, underutilized and neighborhoods, needing activation and needing support. So that's the reason downtown parks are ineligible. In addition, we also, for this particular grant, we're also not allowing, other ineligible parks would also include any parks or playgrounds that are adjacent to community centers. And here they go. And the reason being is, by nature, the parks and playgrounds and fields that are next to community centers already are generally receiving a lot of, activation and more visits than, other parks that don't have, a community center right there. Just by nature, if there's a community center there, a lot of times there's a playground nearby. The community center on its own attracts a lot of folks, and then by nature, those play fields and playgrounds and whatnot, end up getting activated. So again, for this particular grant, our priority is to try to activate those spaces that are more in need. So again, we've deemed those downtown parks that already have resources dedicated to them, and those like playfields and spaces adjacent to centers, those have been identified as not needing as much support from these funds. It doesn't mean they don't need support and they don't need positive programming. It just means with these funds, they won't be eligible. So no downtown and no spaces right next to community centers. One thing I wanted to chime in on real quick, just could you go back to the preferred parks list, please, Zach? So again, these are preferred parks, and these are the ones you'd get, extra points for. But it doesn't mean there's tons of other parks you can choose to activate. You just wouldn't get, extra points on the application. And sorry if I'm overstepping, Zach. I just wanted to clarify that. Doesn't mean you have to activate at the preferred parks. It's just saying those ones will get some extra points on the application. That's all. All right. I'm going to pause.
Right. Thank you, Temesgen. Yeah, no, it's good to reiterate. I'll say it now and again when we go back to the evaluation criteria. But yeah, the preferred parks, those extra points can make a big difference in the evaluation and scoring part of the panel. So I would encourage folks to consider them if you can make them happen. Okay, so we're going to skip through again all these parks, the ineligible parks and the preferred parks are on the guidelines, and then there's a link to all the other parks that are available on the Parks and Recreation website. Okay, so this is like our first round of questions. So between like eligibility of applicants and projects, parks, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to come off mute too if that's easier for you all. We have a question. Let's see here. There's a discrepancy between the guidelines and the PowerPoint regarding $8,000 level of the $12,000 or 12 hours of programming. The funding 8,000 level. Um, sorry, one second. Let's see. VD. Am I understanding your question right? There's last. So basically, in the guidelines state if you've received um, if you received either the $7,800 award, which was the top level award in 2024, or the $8,000 award in 2025, based on community feedback, this program implemented that if you're receiving that award again in those 2 years, then we're looking for 12 hours of public programming across 2 different days. Um, but I think that's pretty straightforward. I think that's what it says in the PowerPoint as well. If you want to chat more about that, let's chat about it offline. PowerPoint
Hey, can you
said,
guys hear me? Can you hear
yeah,
me?
yep.
Hey, yeah, it's VD. Okay,
Hey,
so hello. So, in your PowerPoint, it says I took a screenshot just to make sure I wasn't like hallucinating. It says in your PowerPoint that if you were not funded at 7,800 or 8,000 within the last 2 years, then you need 12 hours of public programming over the course of 2 days. But in the guidelines, it says if you have been funded 7,800 or 8,000, then you must have the 12
okay,
hours in 2 days.
that
So
makes
like
sense.
which
It's
is
the
it?
one of the guidelines. I'm not sure why in the PowerPoint it says not, but it's if you have received um, the funding in the last 2 cycles. If you haven't received funding either for 2024 programming or 2025 programming, then there is no requirement. There's no minimum requirement for the hours. So thank you for catching that. Sorry for the confusion. So it's only if you have been awarded those 2 top award tiers.
And Zach, there's another question in the chat.
Okay. And can we apply for this opportunity if we have a pending application for other city funding opportunities, neighborhood matching fund? We've been told notifications for NMF will come after the due date for this application. Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you're applying for the same exact project, and you're awarded, then we'll figure something out if you're awarded for both city programs. We actually work with folks over at Department of Neighborhoods on the neighborhood matching fund, just kind of cross compare projects that are being awarded. So if you want to apply for the same project that you applied for neighborhood matching fund, that's totally okay. if awarded, we might just have you build in some nuances and provide different public benefits. Essentially, what it would come down to is you'd have to have a separate public benefits for that project. So, like, if you applied for a festival on like September 23rd of next year, and you got funding for neighborhood matching fund, you couldn't also get awarded for arts and parks to also go towards that same September 23rd festival. You'd have to provide a separate public benefit for the two different awards. Uh, does that answer your question? Let me know. Let me know if not. Essentially, we do work with neighborhoods on that, and we'll work with you as the or the awardees for if that situation kind of comes up. Um, okay, we have another question. I think last year for the application it taking place in Seattle, but the applicant did not necessarily have expectations to this residency rule to live in Seattle. So this is around living eligibility around living in Seattle. The eligibility for this one is residing in King County or unincorporated King County, not the city itself. The other eligibility is just providing regular programming, arts and cultural programming in Seattle. But we're not requiring that you live in Seattle, just in King County. City Artist is a different funding program in the Office of Arts and Culture that does have a different eligibility criteria, which I do believe is more focused on people who live in the city of Seattle specifically. Okay. These are great questions. Any other questions that we can answer right now? Two types of projects that were approved. Can I find the grantee list that is typically published? The 2025 grantees list, that's getting published shortly. Our comms team is updating, putting a new face on a lot of our program pages, so those will be updated as well. Any other questions? Feel free to keep sharing questions in the chat, and we're gonna move on to talk more about what you can use funding for if you're awarded and what you're looking to propose in your project. So the funding can be used for paying artists, performer fees, collaborators. It can be used for marketing, such as promotion and flyers that you print, those types of things, paid ads to kind of get the word out about your events. You can use it for project management and also personnel costs that are related to the project or your pop-up event. You can use it for supplies, equipment rentals. If you're putting on a concert, you can rent PA speakers. You can rent stages. If it's a sunny day and you're looking to shade yourself, buy some canopies, or in the rainy season, if you want to rent some canopies. Those are all viable funding requests. Event insurance will be required if you are awarded, and in that situation, you would be able to use your award funding to cover the cost of your event insurance. You can also use it for food, whether it's just like preparation leading up to your event, during rehearsals or just feeding your crew the day of. And you can use up to 10% of your awarded amount for food. This is a pretty standard city citywide kind of policies. Yes, you could also use it for permits. However, particularly the park permit that you awardees go through in this process, the park permit fees are waived for this program, which can be a few $100s or so. So those are all waived for this program. And this is a good time to talk about this. The park permit applications and event insurance and all those types of details about like securing a park and whatnot are not required for the application process. Those are only going to be sorry, I think somebody real quick.
I got it.
Thank you. So yeah, we'll try and make the applications as lean and easy and accessible as possible. So we do get a lot of questions around, do we have to like submit paperwork to secure a park permit and all that stuff? Not at this point. That'll all be involved in the awardee orientation, and we'll share all those details with the awardees later on in February after the announcements have been made. So for funding
Zach,
that, yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to reiterate the point that Zach just made. You do not need to secure a parks permit in order to apply. Please concentrate your energy and attention and time on your application. We will work with you on the application piece and parks permits and all that, after award announcements are made.
Lots of less things to have to think about. We want you all to be able to focus your energy on just what you're excited about, proposing to the community panelists and kind of articulating that. And all of those fun details. So funding specifically for, again, more of a citywide policy, it can't be used for like fundraising during the event or outside of the event, but just fundraising in general to raise more money for your organization or specific cause. Funding can be used for religious services or providing gifts or awards, or if you're doing there's sometimes like contests or whatnot. Just can't be used to like buy the prizes to give out to the finalists or winners or anything like that. And then funding just can't be used for any organizational administrative costs not related to the Arts and Parks event. And then can't be used for the purchasing of equipment. So again, you can rent speakers, stages, canopies, but you can't rent or you can't buy speakers or stages or cameras or anything like that that would, extend the benefit for you like after the event. You can purchase things like some like garments, fabrics, or something like that for clothes like related to festivals or stuff like that that are relevant to the pop-up itself. Those types of smaller cost materials, pencils, sketchbooks, those types of things are all totally okay. But just like larger equipment type stuff isn't allowed for this program.
And Zach, there was a question. I think you just spoke to it, but I just wanted to make sure the person asking felt like the question was answered. The question was, how does this grant define supplies versus equipment as it relates? What is allowed for funding? Was your question answered there? Sorry, I don't know your name. I just see
No.
Question was not answered. Okay.
Okay, so the question is the definition between supplies and equipment. So supplies are like paper, pencils. Let's say you're gonna have you're gonna write poems together in the park and share, and then do like some visual fun, like interpretive representations of the poems or something. So you could purchase, paints. You could purchase like the pad to draw on. You can purchase like paper. You can purchase those types of writing implementations. Uh, but let's say you wanted to like document it, like you couldn't buy a camera, a video camera, uh, to document it. So the video camera would be gear or equipment, and the pencils and paintbrushes and stuff would be supplies.
So, I think, you know, I kind of think of the IRS when I think of this kind of question. Um, you know, Typically there's a dollar amount when thinking about what is equipment versus what is supplies. But for this grant, I feel like there might be some gray areas. So it would be helpful to understand exactly how, especially when considering the budget, exactly how you guys are defining that. I mean, is there a dollar amount that you have in mind? Does it something else that's a little bit more solid, I guess? I mean, for instance, I can see how canopies are relatively inexpensive and could be, you know, needed for the activation. It could be like a part of the activation. Um, but I mean, is could that also be considered equipment, So is there some kind of like better way that we can something that we can refer to so that we know explicitly what is defined as supplies versus equipment?
That's a great question. I don't believe that anything like that exists in our department. I wrote it down as a note to bring back to my team as something we continue to develop to make the application process more clear, and accessible for you all. But there's no, I mean, the list could kind of be endless in both directions of both supplies and both um, canopies. Uh, Maybe a dollar amount is an easier way to cut that off, like nothing more than X amount of dollars. But in terms of like anything that is existing within our department to point to, I I will look, but I have not seen it in the year and a half that I've been here at the Office of Arts and Culture. Temesgen, I don't know if Parks Department has anything in this regard.
No, I
But
think
like a
I think my response is similar to yours. I think right now I think we address those more on a case by case. Like if we do see or become aware of something that we think doesn't fall within the guidelines, we'll try to have a conversation with that applicant or awardee. If we think it's falling into the line of like organizational admin and not so much project related. I understand the examples you gave. Yeah, a lot of times a canopy is project related, but um, yeah, I think sometimes one thing we think about is this something that's more specific to the project or that will be used, forevermore by an organization? Sometimes that's a conversation we have. Um, I was thinking of an example, it was a recreation program, but and not so much an arts and culture program, but somebody wanted to buy like it was this big machine, it was like a basketball thing, and it was very pricey. So we just didn't feel like that was more on the organizational admin side
How
of
do you
things and not so
know?
much project. It's not yeah, but there's right now, yeah, we don't have a clear black and white. I'm sorry. I think Zach summed it up well. Something that we could look at and see if we can try to provide a as clear guidance as possible to applicants. We can definitely work on that too.
And again, I'm happy to if you have specific items that you're like I'm looking to include this in my application, and you think it's in that gray area, please, you're more than welcome to give me a call, shoot me an email, and we'll talk about it. What this really comes down to is, these are public dollars and they're supposed to be used for public benefit. So like, if you're able to use something for like your lifetime outside of the project, is it more of the public's benefit or is it more of the awardee's benefit? Like again, like a video camera, yeah, you could say you want to document this pop-up performance, but then the awardee gets to benefit from having that video camera for the rest of the time it works. Yeah, it's technical life. So that's kind of like what we're looking to, just responsibly steward public money is kind of what it all comes down to. So yeah, again, if you have any specific items you want to run by me, that'd be great. People do that all the time, so I'm happy to work with you on that. I do have, let's see, a few more other ones. Questions here, something like supplies are single use, and equipment are items that could be reused over and over for future events. Yeah. So I think that sums it up. Okay. I'm gonna move on to the next slide here. So the evaluation criteria, I realize this is a very text rich and very dense slide, but I kind of just wanted to make sure that all of this information was housed on the same slide for digestibility purposes. So for the evaluation criteria below, these are what the proposals will be evaluated on by a group of peer review panelists that are made up of past Arts and Parks awardees, artists, and other like arts and culture based administrators. The maximum score is 42. I will say that the evaluation criteria has, let's see, evolved but not changed too much. It used to be, I believe, four different criteria points, and then the preferred parks were 3 points last year. But what we're doing this year is basically weighing all of the criteria points similarly, and kind of categorizing them in a different way. Most of the essence and the same criteria is still being represented here. It's just broken up in different ways. Temesgen and I worked on this just to help with the scoring process, the panel process, to give each one a little bit more weight, so that panelists and also applicants had a easier way to digest and also speak to these different points in their application. So the first criteria point for 10 points is project alignment. And this is going to be for a clear, well-conceived project that centers arts and culture-based programming through meaningful and unique experiences. Your application also aligns with the park's mission to provide safe opportunities to play, learn, contemplate, build community, and promote responsible stewardship of the land. The second criteria point is community impact, also for 10 points. Your project uplifts stories, creatives, and audiences from communities that represent Seattle's diverse communities. You demonstrate an authentic relationship to the cultural community, neighborhood, or other communities of interest being represented. Then we also have community engagement for 10 points. Your project includes intentional efforts to be inclusive, engage Seattle's communities, encourage participation, reach a diverse audience, and create accessibility, especially for those most impacted by structural racism and inequities. And then the final criteria point for 10 points is the feasibility. And this is you demonstrate a relevant experience or include community support, such as support from partners and collaborators to execute your project. You also present a clear overview of how you intend to use the award funds, and it realistically aligns with the scope of your project. And then kind of going back to our chat earlier about the preferred parks, if you do select one of those preferred parks, you can receive 2 points. Applicants will receive 2 points if all proposed activations take place in a preferred park, which benefit from increased use by the public. So I'm going to stop there also to see if anyone has any particular questions about these criteria points. Again, most of this is just kind of rearranged just to rebalance the point system. Some of them were 10 last year, and other ones were 15. And so we just wanted to kind of make it easier for applicants and panelists to kind of understand the weight of all of them. Okay.
Policy currency. Well, there you go. But now, listen.
Is that a question?
By the way, what's happened? I think we're gonna have some time to talk about overseas.
I think we're.
That as well.
I'm sorry. It's coming. Is this a question, or maybe someone?
I think someone forgot to mute.
That
But if not,
okay.
please hop back in or get in the chat. Apologies if you had a question.
Thank you. It looks like can we request our score from last year if we submitted an application that was not awarded? I did a whole I offered post panel feedback for everyone. So if you would like to get the post panel feedback on your application from last year, I can do that. And I was setting up basically 20-minute virtual phone calls or video calls to go through the feedback from the panelists, as well as just feedback that I gave as well from my perspective. So yeah. If you are going to request those types of support or feedback from your last application, please do it about 3 weeks before the application closes. Because those requests get very time intensive, and my capacity to basically the last 2 weeks of the closing of an application are very, very limited, with a lot of administrative stuff that I have to do with this program and all the other 2 programs that I manage as well. So please get those requests in as soon as you can. Okay. So just a very kind of quick high-level demo of the Flex application. So essentially, here's the link down here below in blue. This is on the Arts and Parks webpage, the landing page. This is what you'll see when you go to that link. Flux is a newish online system for the city of Seattle. I think it's been over at Arts for the last four-ish years. If you haven't set up a new account, or you haven't applied for a grant through the Flux system, you'll need to set up an account, and also just reach out to me, and I will get you set up on the back end to make sure that you're just not duplicating an account that might already be in our system, and then also just make sure that you're all set up and with your contact information and all that kind of technical stuff on the back end. But yeah, you'll log in, you'll set up a password, you'll click that you're a grantee looking to apply. This does confuse folks, so I've included some of these screenshots to help you navigate to get to the actual application itself. So once you log in, you'll kind of come up at a screen here on the left. This is like your left-hand side, the navigational bar. You'll want to make sure that you click the Office of Arts and Culture, because we're the ones that post the application process. And once you do that, right now the Arts and Parks application, I believe, is the one at the top that comes at the top alphabetically. But anyway, it's at the top right now. If another grant opens up, there might be one before that. But essentially, just find the Arts and Parks in blue, and then once you find that, scroll all the way down to find the green button that says Apply for Arts and Parks funding. So once you do that, it's going to open up the application itself. It's going to then ask you a couple eligibility questions about if you're presenting programming regularly in Seattle, if you reside in King County, and I think if you've received this award in the last 2 years or not. And then once you click those and click Save, it'll open up the application itself. You'll kind of see these basically just applicant contact information fields. Again, this will kind of be where if you do already have an account set up in Flux, you will start typing in your organization name, and it'll kind of have a drop down to kind of auto-populate. If you don't have an account with us, then again, there will be there's a lot of instructions built in throughout the Flux system. If something, if it wants you to kind of like share information, so like if you don't have an account, it'll ask you to basically email me with like your name, your email, your like EIN, and then your job title, so that I can go in and build in your account in the back end. But this is kind of like what it looks like. Pretty straightforward. One thing I say all this because there's sometimes when people will start their application and get to this point, but they won't like save, or they won't put their name in as an applicant. And if you don't put your name in as the applicant and you kind of close out, then the system doesn't know who to assign that application to. And so it kind of becomes this nameless application on the back end of Flux, and you can't get back into that particular application. So applicants oftentimes will just kind of keep creating new applications. So if you're getting kind of stuck in that loop, feel free to just email me. You're not alone. It's not always the most intuitive, but just in case that happens, that's kind of what happens. And you can kind of, as long as you put your name in there, then it'll be able to ground it in the system and associate it with someone's name, and then you can go back into the in progress applications and find it again. Kind of a long-winded technical thing, but it happens like dozens and dozens of times for every cycle throughout our office. So just try and give people a heads up on that now, sooner than later. Let's see here. Okay, no questions still. These are just some other kind of high-level categories. It'll request the primary and the secondary arts discipline. It'll ask you for the amount that you're requesting, the event location, like which parks are you looking to activate, which city council districts are you looking to activate, project dates, and then also the number of events and programming hours and artists that you're looking to pay. Okay. Let's see here. Let's maybe pause for another round of questions based on those before we kind of get back into some more dense information for the narrative questions. Any questions, Temesgen? Any additional information? Okay, great.
Good job driving.
Thanks. Okay, we're gonna move on. So we're gonna look at the project information. These are essentially going to be the narrative response questions for the application. This is where you'll put where you'll articulate kind of what your project is, all the fun and exciting things that you're looking to host in your event. So the first line is either your artist or organizational website or social media link. This is optional, but we do highly encourage it. This is kind of a replacement for work samples, which can be very technically challenging and also just cumbersome for folks, and also just on the uploading and curating and all that stuff. So we try to make it as accessible as possible for applicants. So just providing a link. Please make sure that you double check the link that you are putting in the application, making sure it's accessible. If it's like a Google Drive or something, make sure the permissions are on, and then also just make sure there's no typos or anything. We encourage you to share the content that aligns with the evaluation criteria specifically. And then panelists will review up to 2 minutes of the content found in the link that you provide. This is kind of a courtesy for both the applicant and the panelists. We want to, again, not make this too time consuming of a process. So letting the applicants know that the panelists are just going to review 2 minutes is just helps them, so you don't have to like edit, like a 20-minute video or those types of things. And it's really just to see, like, demonstrate kind of the types of events that you've put on, and just kind of give a little bit of a sneak peek into what you've done in the past, and kind of what the panelists can kind of extrapolate kind of from the programming that you do. Let's see. So the other stuff is just more again, high level application and project information, just dates, locations, the scale and size of your project, the community it's servicing, etc. There'll be a project summary. This is just like a very short description of your event, something that you would maybe put on a community calendar. That's just like high level. But then you'll have an opportunity to really expand on that in your project description. So what we share in the guidelines is describe the activity of your project for which you're seeking funds. How will you center arts and culture in your project? How will you incorporate audience participation? How is your project uplifting stories, creatives, and audiences from communities that represent Seattle's diverse communities? And then you can also share details about the participating artists, the presenters, any technical needs, or anything that you feel is really compelling to note to the panelists to help them understand the full breadth and depth of the project that you're looking to present. As you'll notice, we've really baked in a lot of the evaluation criteria points into the prompts themselves. This is really just a way to help make sure that the applicants are addressing the evaluation criteria by just simply asking them these questions in the narratives as well. Because we want to make sure that, you're just being able to speak to those, and it's a very like direct and kind of straightforward process. There's not as much guesswork for the applicant. So for the third one, community engagement, describe who attends your programs or who you'd like to attend this program. how does your project use arts and culture to build community? Describe what your efforts will be to be inclusive, engage Seattle's diverse populations, and create accessibility. The production and background capacity, share your experience and capacity for producing arts and cultural programming and activities related to your project. How will you ensure the success of your proposed project? If needed, share details such as support from experienced partners and collaborators or other resources that assist in the successful completion of this project. Um, Pretty straightforward. This next section is a modified section. This used to be 2 years ago. It was a full budget spreadsheet that people would upload with, like, really detailed line items that would most likely take people hours to fill out. Then we kind of moved into a narrative budget that was a little bit easier, but still had a lot of more nuances and details of specific breakdowns of expenses and whatnot. But for this year, we're trying to simplify it even more so that applicants, again, don't have to spend too much time completing the application. So this is really just an even more simplified version of the narrative budget, and it's just called the use of award funding. So we're really just looking for for you all to briefly describe how you intend to use the money. For example, are you looking to pay artists? Are you looking to rent gear, do materials, those types of things? You don't need to provide a budget breakdown, but we do want you to keep in mind just like fair compensation for all creative workers involved, plus any in-kind donations and or like volunteer services. So you don't have to put like how much you're paying folks or anything like that, but just keep those in mind when you are filling out this application. Yeah, it's really just to kind of keep things simple and just, but also still let the panelists know where the funding goes. And then the last section of the application, there is demographic information, though we are very, we just want to reiterate and just emphasize that the the answers or the information that is collected in the demographic information is purely just for internal assessment to see who is applying to our programs. Your demographic information is not ever seen by the panelists, nor is that information ever part of the application evaluation process. It's just for essentially me and our data specialists, so that when doing outreach each year, I can see who's applying and how I can maybe fill some gaps of different types of artists, types of communities that maybe we're not reaching in the application outreach process. Okay, that's a mouthful. I know that's lot to kind of process and digest there. Does anyone have any questions about that? Again, all of this is pretty much the same as last year, except for the use of award funding, which again is just a much more simplified, high level kind of what are you using the money for? We're doing on time. Question. What are my working hours? My working hours are generally 8 to 5:30, Monday through Thursday. I'm on what's called a 980. So I work 9 hour, I work eight, nine, I work 9 hour days, and then every other Friday I'm off, and then the other Friday I work 8 to 4:30. So feel free to give me a call. shoot me an email. I am technically on part-time family medical leave, so I'm working part-time and juggling and doing all this stuff. But um, generally, those are my hours. Right now, I'm doing a lot. But you got questions, I'm there to answer them for you. Okay. So Flux, you want to make sure that you're saving your progress as you go. There is a built-in feature for that. Please, please, please save as you go. And definitely, submit your application when it is ready and you're finished to submit. You'll see this in the next kind of application to-dos, or kind of more just kind of best practices. The last one here is just submit your application before the due date, just so in case you have to deal with any potential technical issues. Also, feel free to reach out to me after you submit to just to confirm that I got your application. Please, please, please just make sure that in Flux it says that you've submitted it. I do go through all the applications that are still tagged as unsubmitted to make sure, and then reach out to folks if it is complete, if they do want to submit it. But it makes things easier on everyone's end, just to make sure that you submit and then follow up once you do. And I would recommend that for any grant that you apply for. Always reach out to the project manager just to make sure that they got your application at the city, or any other grants really that you apply for. I think it's always best practice. But starting from the top, read the guidelines. They are your best friend. They'll tell you about eligibility. They'll go on to even more nuances than were described in this info session. And then again, just make sure you follow the online instructions carefully. Explore the application early so you can plan ahead. I always encourage people to consider drafting application responses in a separate document than transferring them into the Flux application form. This is so that if something happens and you forget to save in Flux, or internet goes out where you're in the middle of writing up everything, you don't want to lose all that precious time and project description language. Plus, you can use it for other grants that you're applying for, so you have that language. You don't have to go into Flux to find that. Attend an information session, which you're doing. Kudos to you all. And then update or complete your profile at this link, which is the login link. Again, if you either way, you'll need to update or create a new profile, so make sure you do that. Doesn't take too long, but it's never fun to be rushing on the last day or something, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I had to do all this other stuff too. So make sure you update that sooner than later. Talk with me about it with any questions that you have as soon as possible before the due date. And then be clear and concise in your application. As you can imagine, panelists read and evaluate many applications. I think for last year, we received 130 applications for this program. And then also, just part of the clear and concise part of the application is, there's only a handful of panelists with, with a limited knowledge and expertise in certain areas, certain disciplines, certain cultural traditions and expressions and language. So make sure that if you're using things that aren't necessarily more common knowledge, that you're elaborating on those concepts, so that the panelists can best evaluate your pop-up, your project. Anything that can help educate them about something that maybe is more culturally relevant to you and your community that maybe some of the panelists might not have as much understanding about. Unpacking those those meanings and those connections and concepts, I think can go a long way. And then again, just saving your work, reread your responses before you submit. And I think next we just got I think it's the last slide. So just timeline, here's some key dates. Again, as a reminder, this application will close on Tuesday, October 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We don't accept late submissions, so please make sure you get your application in on time. November through January, we'll have the panelists paneling. And it will, as I mentioned before, it'll be an independent peer review panel. Historically, it has been arts and parks awardees, artists, arts and cultural based administrators, people who are have kind of community expertise in these areas. February notifications will be sent out, and then February through April, we'll do the awardees complete the park permits, event insurance, contracting, all that fun stuff. And then again, May through October 26th. Sorry, that's a typo. Is when the 2026 programming takes place. And then within the 30 days following the event, awardees will submit their final report and do the invoicing. I do see a couple more questions. And so that's the end of the PowerPoint. So now we're ready for more questions. And I see a couple more in the chat right now. Can you see on the back end if my organization is in there? Yes, I will follow up with you, TaylorMade. I got your email. And then how much is available overall for the grant? 200. Historically, we've had $217,000 go out each cycle, which can be between like 28 and 36 awardees, depending on what the award amounts are. How many awards? Okay, yeah. So that's kind of a loose window, $217,000 and 28 to 36 awardees. The award is not the award is not technically reimbursement based potentially, but we'll get into that, I think, more in the awardee orientation. Awardees can request up to 50% of their award for planning and preparation expenses to use up until their event day, and then they can request the final 50% after the completion of the project. But we don't have receipts or anything. We don't request receipts specifically as part of this process. Yeah. I think that's all the questions in the chat. Does anyone else have any curiosities, questions to help them with applying? Okay. Sounds like everyone's got their questions answered. Okay, well, I'm just going to say thank you all for joining. Thank you for your great questions. Thank you for your participation. Yeah, it's Temesgen. Yeah, can you put your email address in the maybe in the
Oh
chat?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, feel free to email Temesgen. I can put, yeah. I usually most all the questions get sent to me, but let's Temesgen can answer some questions too.
Yeah, I will say if there's like application related questions, they should probably go to Zach and his
Yeah,
team. And then if you have any like park related questions, parks, permits, insurance, all of that, feel free to contact me if you're wanting to know, specifics about a specific park and its amenities and those kinds of things to help your application. I'm happy to do that. But yeah, hold on.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Anything related to anything that's not, yeah, parks related, relevant to a park you're looking to activate, feel free to just shoot those questions to me. And again, if if I need to, I can send it over to Temesgen for some additional support. Um, all right, I'm going to stop recording. Thanks, everyone.